everyone, it's Froggy, and I'm back again with another episode of the Sunday Special. So today we're playing Queen at Arms Demo. So this is just the demo. You can get the game on Steam. Full game's been out for a little while. I've had the demo just kind of sitting in one of my folders, so I figured, you know what, let's give her a go. So let's go start. Stand tall, men. It's an honor to walk on the king's grounds. Slouching boys and tired men snapped upright at the order. Some of them responded out of respect, but others were afraid. The knots in my stomach jumped into my throat as I looked at the massive castle at the end of a long, twisting road. I wanted to cry. Of course I couldn't. It would be unseemly for the youngest son of the legendary knight, Sir Thomas Cordale, to be seen with tears in his eyes, even if he wasn't really a son. Okay, so we're Mulaning this. Halt! Show your respect for Assistant Commander Burin! Everyone stopped walking. The older men quickly formed a straight line, and the rest of us followed. A gruff-looking man approached from a cluster of tents and made his way down the line. One by one, he glared down his nose and asked each man to shout his name. I could feel the boy next to me quivering. He'd been collected from the town 2 days from mine. His father had come with him, and he was standing next to the boy, but there was nothing he could do right now to comfort him. It must have been painful for both of them, but I was still a little jealous of the boy next to me. I'd had to make the journey alone. My brother Nick had made the northward trek through the border 3 years ago, intending to join the Otheran army so he could be educated in the capital. It was a common thing to do, and I'd made plans to make the journey myself when I came of age last year. But when Father got sick, I couldn't bring myself to go. We sent many letters to Nick, but never received a reply. I'm not even sure if he was aware our father was dead. Then the king of Orthra announced that war was coming and started to round up more Silgardian men to supplement his forces. I had my chance to come to Orthra and tell my brother what happened, and to see him again, if he was even still there.
Your name?
As the man's dark, humorless eyes fell on me, my throat grew dry. It struck me then that if I made any sort of noise right now, it would make the tears I was holding back crack my already vaguely feminine voice.
Name, boy!
I opened my mouth, but I couldn't bring myself to answer him. I hated the softness of my voice already. The last thing that I wanted was to embarrass myself with making it sound prepubescent by squeaking.
Go on, boy, name!
One of the soldiers beside him drew his blade, but the gruff man cast a harsh look his way that stilled his hand. My heart beat madly inside my chest.
Are you stupid, boy?
I swiftly shook my head.
You got a tongue?
I nodded.
Then use it!
My mouth opened again, and I forced sound to come out for fear of my life. Marcus! We could choose a name, but I like Marcus. Let's Marcus. Marcus Cordale! I thought Assistant Commander Burin would move on after that, but when he straightened up, he continued to stare at me. He was sizing me up now, probably because I just caused so much trouble. Sweat dripped down my face, and I wondered if I could get away with letting a few tears fall as well. Should I do something to show him I'm not a complete idiot, or should I try not to attract too much attention? Stand up for yourself. Let's try not to cause trouble. We are a girl in disguise right now. Just as my father had taught me, I avoided his gaze. It felt cowardly, but I really didn't want to be branded a troublemaker so soon. I just needed to keep my head down and do as I was told. Eventually he moved on to the next boy. Even when he finally moved on, I couldn't relax. I wanted to become invisible. After the last few recruits reported in, Burin moved to the center of the line.
Men, you are now honored members of the King Kendrick's army. As such, you will conduct yourself with respect and dignity. You will be assigned to men who have been here longer than you, and know better than you ever will. You will follow their orders with efficiency and without question. You will march in single file to the cleric's tent to the east, where you will be examined and assigned to your lives for the next year. Dismissed.
The experienced men turned to the east and started their march. The rest of us did our best to follow smoothly. My heart had nearly bludgeoned its way through my ribcage. How thorough was this examination going to be? Would they find out that I was a girl? Would that be such a bad thing? My father had always said that if anyone discovered the truth, everyone I cared about would be in serious danger, but I didn't even know why. But I needed to trust him. He may not have been my real father, but he had always made sure that I was safe and loved. I had to keep my secret, if only to help honor him and his wishes.
Don't loiter around, men.
I would have done what the soldiers said, but the cleric's tent was filled with a sharp odor that burned my nose. It was a deep smell, pungent even, almost like apples if a bunch of them had been left in the sun too long with a half-eaten fish. I wasn't the only one to notice either. A lot of the boys scrunched their noses up as we marched inside. At the front, a man dressed in robes divided us into groups and directed us to different partitions of the tent. Each one was separated from the rest by a simple curtain. I thought I might have some privacy, but there was more than one bed in each curtained area, and 2 other boys were made to sit there with me. We waited together in silence. The 3 of us sat in terror for what felt like hours. Suddenly, the curtain slid open. We snapped to attention. Oh, hello. The relief I felt when I saw my brother was evenly matched with the surprise that flickered on my brother's face when he saw me. I wanted to jump off the bed that second and give him a hug, but I didn't. There was no point in embarrassing the both of us. His attention was squarely on the other 2 boys in the room anyway.
Take off your shirts.
While Nick tended to the other boys, all I could do was notice how different he was from before. He was taller, his hair was longer, he had a long thin scar just under his ear, and he was standing differently.
Open your mouth.
His voice was deeper, but its tone was too cold. The only thing that had changed about me in the past 3 years was the size of my chest, which I now struggled to bind. I really shouldn't be here. After Nick attended to the boys, he had them dressed and sent them out. Then his focus turned to me. He closed the curtain tightly. The commander said that we wouldn't be getting any more Sly Guardians. His voice was rife with worry. Maybe he hadn't changed as much as I thought. I gave him a bright smile, which used to put him at ease. It didn't today. What are you doing here? You shouldn't be here. My smile dropped. I saw they grabbed older men too. Is father with you? I felt my stomach turn. I shook my head. I guess you didn't get any of my letters. That didn't surprise me. Sly Guard was allied with Orthera, but over the past few years it had been almost impossible to get through the border. Everyone knew that Queen Charlotte was suspicious of Mad King Kendrick, and for good reason. Since he claimed the throne, he thoroughly earned that nickname. If not for the prospect of an upcoming overseas war, she probably wouldn't have let him bolster his army with any more of her men. Father took ill last year. He's passed. I see. My throat tightened, as if he didn't care at all. It was as if he didn't care at all. They probably are going to assign you as aide to Commander Bryce. That's where they put me when I first got here. Our father's name still carries some clout, but don't sling it around too much. It's sort of a mixed bag. I nodded. Try not to get hurt. If any cleric besides me has to look at you, he'll know right away that you aren't. He stopped, and his eyes wandered down my frame. Maybe I changed more than I thought I had. I'm sorry I didn't come home. I gave him that bright smile again, and it seemed to work this time.
Cleric Nicholas!
Sorry, Marcus, I have to go.
You can't let your guard down for a second, okay?
He pulled the curtain open and paused again, as his hand still gripped the fabric. He seemed to need a moment to compose himself. Perhaps he did care after all. By the time I emerged from the tent, I couldn't pick him out from the dense collection of soldiers and clerics. For the first time since I'd been taken from our village, I didn't have someone telling me what to do. I wanted to savor the freedom while I still had a chance. As I wandered the camp, I watched the other men. While some of them were sparring, others were busy with chores. Most of them were Orthoran, but it was pretty easy to spot the Sligardians among them. They clustered together in small groups, and there was an unmistakable hate behind their smiles whenever an Orthian came by. I couldn't imagine why, though it was true that there was a general distrust in Slygard of Ortharia's royalty. The normal Ortharian citizens had never caused us much trouble. Perhaps the situation was different for the Sligardians who actually lived here. I hoped it wasn't. The second thing I noticed was that the other soldiers were mainly men. Despite what I had heard, looking very carefully, I saw what appeared to be a female soldier here or there, but there truly were few of them. Maybe there was some stock to the rumors that women who joined the Mad King's army were not truly welcome. They said the harassment from the men usually drove them away. Even worse, there was no guarantee that the king would protect them, because his son, the prince, was often one of the worst instigators. The women who stayed in the army must have been incredibly bold. Much more than I could ever be. Without anything better to do, I continued wandering the camp, wondering if there was something that I should be doing or someone I should talk to. In one of the groups of soldiers, there was a young Ortharian receiving a lecture from an older man. Something about Penservoy. They must have been discussing the war. I didn't really want to spy on them, but I was curious what the man had to say. Let's eavesdrop. Why not?
What are you, daft boy? Quince is part of the Penservoy. It's not just drifting off in the ocean. But isn't Penservoy a kingdom, like Ortharia? No, thickhead! It's the whole rock, like Lanria. Ortharia and Slygard are part of Lanria. Quince and Talmura are part of Penservoy. Then how can we get attacked by a rock? Only kingdoms wage war. Alliances! Did they teach you anything in your lessons? Actually, I never had lessons before I came here. Was too busy raising pigs. Even a pig farmer needs to know about the places he lives in. The man grabbed a stick from a pile of nearby kindling and started drawing in the dirt. See, we're over here. He drew a large circle with a cross through it. This is us, Orthera, and that's Slygard. And this one over here. He took a few paces and drew a squarish shape with another dividing line. Is Penservoy. This one on top is Quince, and this one here is Talmura. But if they're all the way over there, how are they supposed to attack us? Their reindeer can't swim all the way here. Boy, were you dropped on your head as a baby. They have boats. That's how we trade with them. A bit of water's not going to stop them. Besides, they don't have reindeer. Wait, then what do they ride on? Horses. Horses. Like reindeer, but no antlers. I can't even imagine that. I stared at the man's diagram. It wasn't correct at all. One of the things the father had drilled into me was the politics and geography of Lanria and our nearby neighbors. He said it was crucial knowledge for any upcoming young man. If that was true, it would be better for the young man to learn it correctly, though I didn't want to seem rude. We're gonna correct him. Why not? The younger man looked over at me, but the older man was still drawing in his diagram. Pardon me. Finally, he looked up. Yeah? What do you want, boy? That. I cleared my throat and straightened up my shoulders. That map isn't correct. Huh? Here, can I? I held out my hand. Reluctantly, he handed over the stick. I took a few steps over and started a new drawing. So, we're over here on the north, in Lanria. Orthea's in the north, and Slygard's in the south. Montcrest used to be in the east, but I guess now it's part of Ortharia. And over here down south, this is Penservoy. It has Talmera, which is the nearest one to us, and Quince, which is the little one in the south. The big one in the middle is Rame. So what's the little one over there? That's Alchio, but they don't really talk to the others. Oh. The older man snatched the stick back and started eyeing me up. Where'd you learn all this, boy?
My father, sir.
Ha! I'm not your sir! Anyway, where's your uniform?
Uniform? Was I supposed to have one of those?
You can't be wandering around here out of dress. Someone might think that you're a spy or something.
I was pretty sure a spy would have a uniform on before they let themselves be seen, but I wasn't going to question the man's logic.
Get over to the medics and get dressed.
I nodded and made a hasty exit before anyone else could yell at me.